What you just heard wasn't just a political exchange, it was a warning shot. When leaders dismiss the lived struggles of entire communities, when they reduce real suffering to talking points and excuses, that's not governance, that's abandonment. And the truth is, this didn't happen overnight. It's part of a pattern where marginalized voices are pushed aside, resources are stripped away, and the people most impacted by policy are treated as an afterthought. So let's break down what's really happening here, because if we don't call this out, it keeps happening in silence.
Member, the gentlelady from California, for her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome back. Broadband is today's essential service. Families need it to help their kids learn, to keep their jobs, and to get care when they're sick. So I'm glad we're having this markup today because we have a lot of work to do to make sure the internet is accessible and affordable to everyone. We just went through a shutdown during which we did nothing to address the affordability crisis in America. Speaker Johnson kept us out of session, not doing our jobs for a remarkable 54 days. All because Republicans refused to even consider extending the ACA's enhanced premium tax credits while families are staring at skyrocketing health costs. And President Trump has failed to bring everyday prices down. Too often, the very people high prices are hurting the most are also the ones still waiting for affordable, reliable broadband. They can't keep waiting. As we begin this markup, our job today is clearing real barriers to deployment while preserving safeguards that protect communities. We can do both, but to do so, we need to consider the broader context that will shape whether any of this work succeeds. State broadband offices, local leaders, and providers have been planning projects for years under BEAD and digital equity programs. Since day one, President Trump has thrown this process into chaos, freezing funds, forcing restarts, and stripping affordability protections, slowing deployment, and keeping costs high. We're seeing this up close in my district. California is investing big to close the digital divide, including the $38 million in last-mile funding to Sacramento County alone. But we still need BEAD dollars to finish the job. That includes connecting the dead zones just 20 minutes outside of Sacramento and reaching the dozens of Delta farming communities still waiting for reliable service. If we move one step forward on permitting while taking 2 steps back on BEAD, we won't close the digital divide, we'll widen it. Despite these concerns, I am encouraged by the bipartisan items before us, proposals that are targeted, practical, and consistent with what we've heard from states, localities, and builders. They make the permitting process more predictable and pushing agencies to coordinate. Everyone benefits when we make the process more transparent. I'm especially proud of the Digital Applications Act, which I co-lead with Representative Kamek. This bill creates a one-stop online portal to accept, process, and track broadband permitting applications on federal land. It promotes transparency and accountability for a process that's often fragmenting, helping us deliver predictable timelines without sacrificing the public interest. Unfortunately, there are some bills today that I won't be able to support, proposals that would force local governments to meet tight deadlines without any extra staff or funding. And if this clock runs out, the project is automatically approved. That may sound like a way to speed things up, but in reality, it cuts out community input, leads to mistakes, and sets us up for more delays down the road. If we want faster reviews, we should give local communities more help, not take away their say. Let's be honest. Let's call out what's really slowing deployment. The Trump administration's constant disruptions to BEAD. Meanwhile, Republicans are cherry-picking stories about slow permits to justify steamrolling local voices and rubber-stamping approvals. Families in Sacramento across all our districts just want this to work. They want to get online, be able to afford their bills, and know the connection would be there when they need it. We can get there if we work together. Let's pass our bipartisan bills, stop this administration from kneecapping federal broadband funding, and finally get shovels in the ground. With that, I look forward to the discussion of these bills, and I yield the balance of my time. I yield back.
Doris Matsui isn't just warning Congress, she's sounding an alarm about something most Americans will never see on the front page, but will absolutely feel in their daily lives. And when she talks about chaos, disruption, and the widening digital divide, she's not being dramatic. She's describing a crisis that was engineered from the top, a crisis created by President Trump's decisions to freeze broadband funding, restart programs already underway, and strip away affordability protections that millions of families depend on. And here's what makes this moment so important. Broadband isn't a luxury anymore. It's the backbone of modern life. Kids need it to learn, patients need it for telehealth, workers need it to stay employed. But while communities, states, and local leaders have spent years planning how to expand access, Trump's administration has spent those same years throwing sand into the gears, grinding progress to a halt exactly when the country needs it most. What Matsui exposes is a pattern. Republicans talk a big game about cutting red tape and speeding up deployment, but the policies they support end up doing the opposite. They push deadlines local governments can't realistically meet. They ignore staffing shortages. They allow automatic approvals that bypass community concerns. And then, after those rushed approvals lead to mistakes, they blame local officials instead of owning the federal chaos that caused the delays. Meanwhile, the real slowdown, the one that affects millions, comes from Trump freezing BEAD funds, slowing applications, and rolling back affordability requirements. And Matsui makes it clear, you can't expand broadband by creating the very obstacles you claim you're trying to remove. You can't pretend to care about rural communities while blocking the federal dollars needed to build in rural communities. And you can't fix the digital divide when the administration keeps deepening it. It's especially striking when Matsui describes what's happening in her district. Sacramento County has invested millions, real dollars, already allocated, but those projects can't be completed without the BEAD funding Trump put on ice. Families living just miles outside the city still have dead zones. Entire farming communities remain offline. These are people who want to participate in the digital economy and can't, not because the technology doesn't exist, but because the administration won't release the funds. And the most revealing part is this. Broadband deployment isn't being derailed by slow permitting. It's being derailed by federal dysfunction created by the very Republicans claiming to fix it. Matsui's message breaks through the noise. We don't have to choose between efficiency and accountability. We can streamline deployment and protect community voices. We can build broadband faster and make sure it reaches the people who need it most. We can modernize the process without gutting local input or sacrificing affordability. This is what responsible governance looks like. Not shortcuts, not corporate giveaways, not silencing communities, but real solutions that bring people online, lower costs, and actually move the country forward. If you walk away with one takeaway from this hearing, let it be this. Broadband policy isn't abstract. It's not technocratic. It's deeply human. It determines who gets access to education, healthcare, economic opportunity, and basic connection in a digital world. And right now, Trump's decisions are pushing millions further behind. If you appreciate analysis that cuts through the spin, exposes the real consequences of policy, and defends communities that are too often left out of the conversation, make sure you subscribe to Left Lens. Hit the like button, share this breakdown, and help us keep shining a light on what's really happening behind the scenes. Because these decisions affect all of us whether we realize it or not.